Today, to do a follow-up, we'll first go through for all the people who hasn't been here. So we do a little bit of repetition, what we've been doing the last couple of weeks, and then we'll go into the new laws that haven't been on this webinar before. And if you're totally brand new to this webinar, you've never been there, someone told you to listen in, or they send you the link or whatever they did. This is something that we do. It's totally free for the members. And we do this every Sunday where we go through some, new thinking. Our personal development is depending on us to get new thoughts. Because if you don't get new thoughts and new thinking, you will keep on doing what you've been doing, and then you will keep on having the results that you had so far. So maybe your results is awesome, they're really great, you're really satisfied with everything going the way you want it, that's fine, but you can still learn. We're here, like I heard someone said, I hope I never arrive, which means that that person understood the law and the law of spirituality in the world, and that is we're here to learn, we're here to change. Because if you don't change, nothing will change. Okay, so we have started every webinar lately because of these laws we're going through with these fundamentals, principles, and that is that you are designed for success. The great I am made it so you can have anything that you put your mind to. Anything you can believe, you can achieve. You don't have to believe that, but you can try it. And it also, in this design that you are, is actually two fundamentals, and that is that everything in life is functioned by laws. And the first fundamental is that since everything is designed by laws, you can actually determine if you or someone else is going to be successful by the way they are doing things. Anything, if they read, if they don't read, if they are good showing up in time, if they are disciplined, they are listening to things like this to develop themselves. So success is predictable, but also failure is predictable, since you can do the opposite, because success is easy. So if success is easy, if it's easy to be successful, why isn't everybody successful? Because it's easy not to do it. And that's the big thing that most people, they do nothing. They talk and talk and talk and no action. So if you want to be successful, you got to stop talking and start doing. Because the great law tells us what we sow is what we reap. That is the great law. So sowing and reaping, it's easy for a farmer, because you can ask a farmer, do you think you can reap without sowing? And he will go like, what are you talking about? So he understands that. So it's pretty ridiculous that most people are walking around in the world and they think that they can reap without sowing, and it's impossible. So what do we mean by sow in this case? Well, like I said, you can determine by someone's behavior. If a person is a reader, if a person is a feeder, if a person is a leader, if a person is disciplined, and if a person is humble, and so on, have the good traits, you can determine where that person is going. That is sowing. If you're humble, if you have a great attitude, that's what you sow. You sow your attitude to to the universe, you know. So sowing is everything we do and everything we don't do, because not to do something is also to sow. Okay. So some people, they don't get it, that the law of creation probably should be the first law, but doesn't matter. These laws, it's not in the numbers order, it's just laws. The law of creation tells us that life does not happen by itself. So we got to go out and do it. We got to make it happen. And most people go like, yeah, that's pretty obvious. I get that. So why don't you? If you get it, why don't you? And that means everything, everything that happens to you, you are the captain on the ship. So you can see that this ties into the first law, the law of sow and reaping, the great law, because if you don't do anything, nothing will happen. That's the law of creation. Ties into reaping and sowing, okay? Sowing and reaping. Then we have the law of growth. And the law of growth say that we change ourselves, or actually, when we change ourselves, our life changed too. So that was what I started this webinar with telling you that if you don't change, nothing will change. And that is why there's only 3 to 5% of the population in a country that are really successful, that are really rich. Why is that? Because the 95%, the rest of the population, they buy into what media tells them. They listen to the news, or they listen to rumors, or they hang out with beer drinking buddies who are never going anywhere. They don't have a plan for their life. They're not goal setting. They have no goals in life. They know nothing about discipline and doing stuff. And if you hang around people like that, you will be like them, because we probably end up like the people we hang around with. So then we come into business like this or any other business, and we realize, wow, I need to change a couple of things. Yeah. So the law of growth, there will be no growth if you don't change yourself. And then we had the law of humility. And like I said, these are the laws that we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, but I go through them now so you will have them. Repetition for the people who hasn't been here. It's kind of not fair, because if you haven't been here, you shouldn't get them, but it's good to get the content, all of it. So the law of humility is also a principle, and principles never change. So a law is a principle. Principle is a law. And the funny thing, or the good thing with this, is that the laws were here before you were here. Anyone. So the laws were actually here before us. Then we came after the principles. Okay? So one must accept something in order to change it. And that's where the ego comes in. And most people, they don't want to accept, their situation. They want to lie to themselves. No, that's not, I'm not like that. Or, if you want to be successful, you got to be honest. Not honest in a way like you got to be honest in every way, but I mean, mostly to yourself, because the one that you're cheating and fooling is yourself. So people think that they fool other people. No, they're not. They're fooling themselves. So the law of humility is that you got to accept your situation. If you accept your situation and your flaws and your character defects, then you can change them. If you don't accept them, you try to think that you're something that you're not. That's ego. That's edging God out. You are now the sole owner of your problems instead of getting help. So accepting something, you got to accept before you can change. That's the law of humility. Then we have the law of change. And that is history will repeat itself until we learn from it and change the way we do things or change our path. So it actually means that you heard me say that problems is part of the equation in becoming successful, part of personal development, part of life that most people don't want to admit, but it is. So problems is like, our brain is like a muscle. When we train our muscles, they grow. And when we train our brain, it grows. It not grows in size, but it grows because we learn stuff and we can handle stuff. And that's why problems is so good, because if problems didn't occur, we wouldn't learn. But some people have been taught that problems is bad. It's not bad. It's part of the whole deal. So some people try to run away from problems, and what happens? It appears again. You will have the same problem until you learn and change. When you learned and accepting your situation, and you learn that, wow, that was not good. That was not a good way of doing things. And then you do it in another way because you got new thoughts, new thinking, and to think is to create. You change your path. So that's also for the people who are not humble enough to understand that they need to be humble to change. And understand you will get your problems until you learn them. That they will come back again and again and again and again. And for some people, it never ends. They get buried with all their problems. They never solved almost anything. Then we have the law of responsibility. Comes from the word ability to respond. So we have ability to respond because we are free thinkers. We can choose our thoughts. If you have been with me for a while, you know that you are not doomed to anything except what you choose to think. We must take responsibility for our own lives. It's not someone else's responsibility. It's not the company we work for, or our parents, or the country we in, or government, or it's not them. It's us. It's you. You must take responsibility for your own life. You must grow so you have an ability to respond to whatever comes your way. That's personal growth. That's personal development. Then we have one of the new laws I think we talked about last week, was the law of connection. So if you go back to the first law, the great law, sow and reap. Okay? And you look at this law, this principle, the law of connection. The past and the present and the future are all connected. So what we sow in the past will pop up in the present and the future. So you see, there's no way around this. These are laws. They will not change. You can break them, and that's the punishment you get for breaking a law. There will be consequences. But it's not the law's fault or anyone else's fault. It's the person who decide to break the law. So, and also, since the past and present and the future are all connected, we can use that as an advantage. Or we can also understand that the past has nothing to do with our present if we don't choose to. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that if we are willing to change the way we think, we did something in the past that was not good, so we have a consequence. Now we're in the present and we change the way we think about that certain situation. Say, okay, I'm willing, I'm humble enough, I'm willing to be responsible here for my actions, and I will change. Then the future will change because of that little change in the present. And there's only in the present where you can change. How can you change in the future? This is impossible. How can you change in the past? It's impossible. You can only change in the present. And they're all connected. Then the law of focus, which you can see that all these laws ties into each other. They all connected. They're twirled into a system of to how to become successful. And that is that we cannot think of two different things at the same time. So if you go back to the law of connection, that the past and present and the future are connected, you cannot think of a bad thing and expecting a good thing to happen. Because you cannot think of two different things at the same time. You either stay focused on the negative, and that's what you're creating your future with thinking in the present. So you have to change the negative to a positive to create a positive in the future, because they're all connected. So you cannot think of something negative or talk negative and expect something positive to happen. It's impossible. Will not happen. And that is why we have this saying, your best thinking got you where you are right now. Not someone else thinking, your best thinking. So the blame game is over. If you're in personal development, there's no one to blame. You can only change. You can only move. You can only, take an action. Nothing else. Then we have the law of here and now. And again, if we only can change in the present, okay, we say yes to this. Say yes, loud and clear. I can only change in the present. That means that the law of here and now tells us we cannot be present if we're looking backward. Do you see? Those two are connected to each other. So if you're negative, you're probably thinking about something that already happened, or something that you think will happen in the present, but you cannot be in the present if you're looking backward or forward. So you got to be here and now, right here, right now. Everything is okay. Everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to turn out to the best. You're here and now because you can choose the way you think. Then the law of giving and hospitality tells us that our behavior should match our thoughts and our actions. So if we think that we are, or let's just put it this way, you set some goals, and we go back to the first law of sowing and reaping. So you can't get something for nothing. There are no such thing. So you gotta start giving if you want to have something, because that's a law. You can't be a real leader if you're not a giver, if you're not a feeder. A leader is a feeder. A leader is a reader. And why do I talk about leader? Because you can't be successful if you're not a leader. There's no way. You think you're successful because you made a couple of bucks here and there, or you were involved in something that gave you some money. That's not leadership. That has nothing to do with nothing. I'm talking about being successful in life. I'm talking about your soul, the one thing that you take with you when you leave planet Earth. Or maybe not leaving, I don't know where we're going, but I believe we have, a body, we have mental, and we have a soul, And you got to take care of the one thing that doesn't go away. The body will go away, will rotten in the earth, it will go away. Since the mental is part of the body, kind of, because it's in your brain and it's your psychic, it also will go away, but your soul will not go away. You don't have to believe that. That's just what I believe. But I think it ties into the law of giving and hospitality. Well, the law of significance. And it tells us that the rewards are the result of the effort that we put into it. So if you want to be significant, if you want to be special, if you want to raise above the 90%, and you want to have the things that you set down, that you wrote down for your goals, then you got to put some effort into it. And you can observe leadership, and you will see that leaders are the people, or the real leaders I'm talking about, are the people who put a lot of effort into things that they do. And then last but not least, the law of patience and reward. And that is that the most valuable rewards require persistence. It tells us that quick fix is not good. Quick fix, getting rich quick, or making a couple of bucks quick, or because it's about persistence. These are laws, they're connected into each other. And the most valuable rewards, you got to read things right. If you don't read things right, you don't get things right. The most valuable rewards, it doesn't say the rewards require persistence, the most valuable rewards. And what those are, I have no idea, but they are valuable, probably connected to your innermost self. Those rewards require persistence. And we will end today, as we've done before, these 6 points. It's important when we do all this, we follow in the laws, we start to understand them, we start taking notes, write things down, we set goals, we make a plan, we take action, and we use these laws as okay, I'm out of course. You remember I told you that a jetliner is 90% out of time out of course when they're flying. So even if they have an autopilot, they got to correct the course. So 90% out of time, out of course. No one is flying straight. Not even us. We're not flying straight. Gonna be problems and hurdles and stuff that we need to take care of and whatever. Uh, Understand that you gotta know what you want. And you gotta be grateful. You got to keep your mind open for inspiration. When you're listening to these webinars, for instance, don't close your mind. Don't think you know everything. Open your mind and say, hey, I'm willing to listen. I want to learn something. And if something happens, you're overtaken by defeat, just keep on doing it. Just don't give up. The winners never quit and the quitters never wins. Because you got to have that burning desire to keep you fired up. And when doubt comes into your mind, you have the capacity for belief. Hey guys, I hope you had a great Sunday, because I had one, and I will see you next Sunday. And until then, go out in the world, help people to change their lives and be happy, prosperous, joyous, and free. But most of all, free. Free your mind from all the negative, all the words, it's throwing at you, because there is a solution. I'll see you next Sunday.